Hi, I'm Clark on Temptress, and today I'm going to do a real short video about lines on a boat. How they're made, what they're made out of, and what you should be using them for. Whether you're crossing oceans or you're day sailing, you should have a basic understanding of line. It's going to save you money when you go shopping for it. You just need to know what you should be buying, and you don't want to be making a mistake and buying a bunch of anchor line because you found it at a hardware store cheap and try to use it to control your sails. So today I'm going to tell you just a little bit about how lines are made, what they're made out of, and which ones to choose for what jobs. The job kind of defines what kind of line you want to get for it, of course. A lot of the lines on a sailboat are for controlling sails. This one's called the main sheet, and this one pulls the boom around, makes the mainsail come into the wind. We have lots of different sheets. Every sail has one that kind of pull it around. For a sheet, you need it to not stretch, because if I set a sail and it's under the load of the wind, and I got it just where I want it, the last thing I want to happen when the wind gusts up for a little bit is the sail just pull out further because the line stretch, so we need low stretch. We have jobs on the boat where we actually want high stretch. We want to keep the anchor gear happy and safe by not beating on it with the weight of the yacht every time a wave hits it. So we use a line there that has a lot of give. It's not a rubber band, but it's got a lot of give like that kind of elasticness. There's two things that can affect that stretch. The first thing is how the rope is made, how it's woven together, and the other thing is what it's made out of. So first, let me talk about this one. This is a real simple braid. It's called single braid, and you can see it's really loose. I can push it together. If you look at it carefully, you can see it's kind of hollow inside. Single braid is fairly low in stretch inherently, and it is really, really easy to splice. You do something called a Bremel with it, and it's pretty trivial. If you wanted this to be tougher, you go up to this. This is a double braid. Same thing on the outside, and another one on the inside. They just took advantage of that hollow to put like a rope in a rope. Well, it tends to be a little lower in stretch than the single braid, but it has another big advantage. The outside of the line sees chafe when it goes over blocks, gets tied on cleats, gets dragged across stuff, and it lives out in the sun, so it's exposed to the UV, which is really harmful for these kind of fibers. The inside, though, is really protected. It really never sees chafe, and it never sees sun. So, as this rope ages, the outside might degrade a bit and become weaker, but the inside tends to be as strong as the day you bought it. So this is a very long life type line, and like I said, very low in stretch. Other big category is this. This is a small anchor line, and this is made out of three-strand. Three-strand, you take some fibers and you twist them up, and you make a little yarn, and then you take the yarn and you twist that together and you make strands. I believe I got the nomenclature right on this. But finally you twist those and put them together, and then you have the line or the rope. For a given material, this is the stretchiest that we use. It wouldn't be appropriate for handling sails. It just would stretch a lot. But it's tremendous for the anchor. It's also really tough. This one has had a very hard life, and you can see it's abraded in places, but it's still in pretty good shape. It takes more of a beating than these take. So all of these things make this really, really great for like anchor gear. The next thing that affects the line is what it's made out of. We'll go back from front to back here. The nylon, as I said, anchor rod is made out of nylon. Nylon is really stretchy. It's pretty darn good in every other category. It's got a good strength to weight ratio. It's got a good strength to size ratio. but it stretches really easily. So we use that for the anchor gear, and it does a great job there, but you wouldn't want to control sails with nylon. For controlling sails, classically we use this. This is Dacron, or polyester. And this one is, again, double braid, polyester on the outside, polyester on the inside. And it's really durable stuff. It does pretty well in the sun. I've got some lines on this boat that have been doing their job for 30 years. And they're made out of Dacron. Dacron double braid is just what everybody that wasn't trying to win races has used for a very long time. But that started to change a bit, mostly because of what's inside of this one. This is Dacron on the outside, so it has all those advantages and chafe protection, holding a knot well, all of those things. But inside, that inner core is made out of Dyneema, which is, what's that, ultra high molecular weight polyethylene. It's basically what a soda bottle is made out of, the same ethylene. Polyethylene is a bunch of those to make a molecule. Well, this is a whole bunch of this. So they have very, very, very long molecules, and it makes it very, very strong. So this stuff has come down in price a lot, and even I could afford this. This will be our new Genoa sheet. So it's got Dyneema on the inside and Dacron on the outside, and it should have all the advantages of both. Another thing about Dyneema, going back to this piece of single braid, we use this with our dinghy. This is how we tie the dinghy to the yacht. And Dyneema floats. It's very lightweight, and it actually floats in water. Why that's important for anything that lays in the water is if you have a line that sinks, it can get caught in a propeller. The last thing you want is a good strong piece of line getting caught in your yacht's propeller, like when you're trying to maneuver or anchor or something. So you should always tie your dinghy up with something that floats, either polypropylene or Dyneema. Probably another category that gets forgotten is small stuff. When I first got a sailboat, I got all the big lines I needed and I went off cruising, and so many times I found myself trying to do some little job and all I had was great big line, and it's awkward to use. And if you really only need a short piece to tie down your dinghy or something, you don't want to cut one of these. These things cost hundreds of dollars. So I recommend you get Paracord. It's really stretchy, which is helpful sometimes when you're tying things down because you can cinch it and it kind of pulls back. It's got a kind of almost an abrasive feel to it, and that makes it hold knots really, really well. And most importantly, it's cheap. You can get a great big spool of it for, I don't know, 20 bucks or something. It's maybe a little more. I haven't bought it in a while because you get a great big spool and you just use it and use it and use it. It's cheap enough, you just cut off a piece and melt the ends and use it for what you're using it for and not really worry about it, where you never ever want to cut a purpose line. And really small stuff. This is a waxed twine. You always want some of this aboard. You'll find you use it a lot once you have it. It's just a piece of string, it's got a little wax on it, and you historically use it for things like this. This is called whipping, and when you cut a line, it's going to want to fray back. The modern lines, all the synthetics, you can melt them. Some melt better than others, but then you got this hard, sharp thing. So this one I have melted when I cut it, but you can see the melt is already kind of chem loose. What's holding this line all nice is this whipping. So this is what you use to do this with. For stretch, we start out with double braid as the lowest stretch, and then we go down to 3-strand as the potentially highest stretch way of making a line. As far as material, the fancy things, the Dyneemas and Kevlars and stuff are very low stretch. Dacron's in the middle, still acceptably low stretch, and nylon is your rubber band. It's very stretchy. You're going to find that you're going to see a lot more of this light Dyneema stuff on boats. It's great, it's very strong, it's magical, wonderful stuff, it's light, it floats, but the main reason you're going to start seeing it a lot and particularly in this single braid version, is this is sold for winches on Jeeps, and they sell a lot of it. And you can buy a coil of it that's a good length to use on a boat for darn near nothing. It's very inexpensive for such a really, really good piece of line. But you need to know how to do a Bremel, and I can show you how to do a Bremel. This is a Bremel, and it takes like 2 minutes. It's real easy. Another thing with lines is, when do you replace them? It depends what they're made out of. It depends what condition they're in and what life they've had. Double braid, you can look at the cover. It doesn't matter if it's kind of screwed up. You don't want it opened up so you can see the core. If it's chafed that far, you probably want to deal with it. But it can look really bad. This one is fairly old. This has been out in the sun. This has been through Panama with me. This used to be a reef line for the roller furling. And the only reason I've changed this one out, it's still in great shape, is because I needed a thinner, stronger reef line because of a bigger sail. Anyway, when do you replace? Well, double braid, when the cover is gone to the point where the core is very exposed, you definitely are getting there. If the line has a job that is absolutely mission critical, you might want to make sure it's in very good condition to use it. But a line getting old doesn't necessarily mean it's weak. I've got lines that are on this boat doing a job out in the sun that were on the boat when I bought it 30 years ago. They're not Genoa sheets, they're not under tremendous loads and working and dragging over anything, but they've lived a long time. I showed you how bad the nylon was, and that definitely needed to be replaced. But things like this is gone over something, and it's actually melted the lines, the individual fibers a bit. But look, most of it is still strong, and for my purposes, this is plenty strong. But again, it has to do with the job the rope has. This is a line I use for kedging off. This is a line if I needed to tow somebody I would use. This is a line that I use for the stern anchor to hold us around into the waves so we don't roll at night. None of those are mission critical. If my main anchor rode was getting that bad, I might say, well, you know, if it was massive, way bigger than it needs to be, it's still fine. But if it was just about the size I would want for a storm, I might say, hey, maybe I should get a new one of those. And then you use the old one for jobs like this. You can buy used line at places that sell used boating equipment. Most cities that are near the water have one or two of them. And it's usually a good piece of line. Someone took off a boat, maybe they wanted the newest, coolest line and they replaced it, but it also could be they're selling the boat and they're just getting rid of some things that way. For Three-Strand, look at it. If it's in good condition, it's in good condition. Buy it. Really, the stuff is supposed to look old and beaten up, so old and beaten up isn't a problem for it. It's going to go in the mud. For Dacron, or for double braid, I should say, if you buy used line, you've got to understand one thing. If you're going to do an eye splice or any splice in double braid line, it has to be brand new line. If it's been out and worked and weathered, you're never going to successfully get the splice in it. And then the other thing I had to say about splicing a double braid line or any of the doubled up lines like Stay Set X and all of those is buy New England rope. I have bought so many off-brand ropes like this one with the idea I'm going to splice it, and I can never get the splices to bury. It's really difficult to do a splice in this kind of line, and I've never been steered wrong by New England rope. So anything I want that I want an eye splice in, I buy new and I buy New England. Well, that's my little short video on thoughts I had about line. It's conversation. Anybody have any other thoughts? Anybody think I'm very wrong about something? Or more importantly, anybody have a really cool idea? There's new fibers all the time. If you've got something that's cost effective and really works for you, put it in the comments below. Generally, let's talk about it. Good day.